But listen to me, life is not going to ask for your permission before it throws something at you. It's not going to check if you're ready, if you've got the strength, if you've got the endurance. No, life is going to hit, and it's going to hit hard. And in that moment, you've got two choices: resist it, fight it, deny it, or accept it and take control. You see, the problem is that most people waste too much time trying to change what's already happened. They spend days, weeks, sometimes even years wishing things were different, wishing that person hadn't walked away, wishing that opportunity had worked out, wishing they had made a different decision. But I need you to hear me. What's done is done. You can't rewind time. You can't undo the past. No amount of regret, no amount of anger, no amount of blame is going to change the reality in front of you. So the first step to moving forward is to accept it. And I get it. Acceptance isn't easy. Nobody wakes up and says, I love pain. I love disappointment. No, it hurts. It stings. It breaks you down. But listen, you don't have to like what happened. You don't have to agree with it. You just have to accept that it did happen, because when you accept something, you take away its power over you. When you accept it, you stop fighting ghosts, stop wasting your energy on things that are already gone, and that's when you can start taking control of what's ahead. I need you to stop asking, why me? Stop replaying the situation over and over in your head, looking for a different outcome. That's a battle you will never win. The more you resist, the more you suffer. The more you refuse to accept reality, the longer you stay stuck in it. Some of you have been carrying the weight of something that happened years ago, something you can't change, something that's already in the past, and yet you still let it control you today. How long are you going to let that moment define your life? How long are you going to let it steal your peace? Listen, I know some of you have been through real pain. You've lost people, you've been betrayed, you've been overlooked, underestimated, knocked down more times than you can count. But I need you to understand something. You are not what happened to you. You are not your failures. You are not your mistakes. You are not the pain that someone else caused you. What happened to you is real, but it is not who you are. And the moment you accept that, the moment you stop fighting it, that's the moment you take your power back. See, the strongest people in this world are not the ones who never fell. They're the ones who got back up. And you can't get back up if you're still on the ground wrestling with the past. You can't step into your future while dragging the weight of what's already happened. You have to decide today, right now, that you will no longer let what's behind you dictate what's ahead of you. You have to stop looking at the closed door. You have to stop looking at what should have been and start looking at what can be. The job you lost, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away, it's gone. And that's okay. Because if it was meant for you, it would still be here. If it left for a reason, maybe to make room for something better. Maybe to teach you something you needed to learn. Maybe to push you in a direction you would have never chosen on your own. But you'll never see it that way if you keep fighting reality instead of embracing it. I don't care what your past looks like. I don't care how many mistakes you've made, how many times life has knocked you down. You have the power to start again. But it begins with acceptance. It begins with looking in the mirror and saying, this is where I am. This is what happened. And now I'm moving forward. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel like it, right now. Because let me tell you something. Life is not waiting for you to be ready. It's moving with or without you. And every second you spend stuck in regret, stuck in bitterness, stuck in resistance is a second you are wasting, a second you could be using to rebuild, to grow, to step into the person you were meant to be. So what are you going to do? Keep holding on to something you can't change? Keep letting it control you? Keep letting it steal your joy, your peace, your future? Or are you going to stand up, take a deep breath, and say, it happened, it hurt, but it's not going to break me. It's not going to define me. It's not going to stop me from becoming everything I was meant to be. The choice is yours. Accept it and then let it go. Some of you are out here fighting battles you don't even need to fight. wrestling with situations that are already over, trying to change things that can't be changed. And the worst part, you think that holding on is making you stronger. You think that if you just fight a little harder, resist a little longer, somehow you'll force the outcome you want. But let me tell you something. Resistance doesn't make you stronger. It makes you suffer. See, life is unpredictable. People will betray you, plans will fall apart, you'll make mistakes, you'll lose things you thought you couldn't live without. And when that happens, you got a choice. Accept it and move forward, or resist it and stay stuck in pain. Too many of you are choosing resistance. You refuse to let go. You replay the moment over and over in your head. You tell yourself, it shouldn't have happened. It wasn't supposed to be this way. And every time you do that, you're keeping yourself locked in a prison of your own making. Let me ask you something. Has resisting ever changed what happened? Has obsessing over the past ever rewritten it? No. All it does is drain you. All it does is rob you of your peace, your joy, your future. You're giving energy to something that no longer exists. You're fighting ghosts. You're spending your days angry, bitter, frustrated, when the truth is, life has already moved on. And the only reason you're still suffering is because you refuse to move with it. I know what some of you are thinking, but it wasn't fair. They shouldn't have done that to me. I didn't deserve it. And you're right. Maybe it wasn't fair. Maybe you didn't deserve it. But listen to me. Fighting reality won't make it fair. Wishing things were different won't make them different. The only thing you accomplish by resisting the truth is keeping yourself in pain. Pain is real, hurt is real, but suffering is a choice. Suffering is what happens when you keep resisting the truth, when you keep holding on to something that's already gone, when you refuse to accept that some things are out of your control. You didn't get the job, move on. They left you, let them go. The opportunity slipped away, stop chasing it. The more you fight against reality, the more you suffer. Some of you have been stuck in the same emotional loop for years. Something happened, and instead of processing it, learning from it, and letting it go, you held on. You made it your identity. You let it define you. You let it become the reason you stop believing, stop dreaming, stop trying, and now every time something reminds you of that moment, you go right back to that place of pain. But let me tell you something. You are not your pain. You are not your past. The only reason it still has power over you is because you won't stop feeding it. You can't heal while you're still resisting. You can't grow while you're still holding on. You want peace? Let go of the battle. You want freedom? Stop trying to control what's already done. The truth is, resistance is just another form of fear. Fear that if you accept what happened, it means you're weak. Fear that if you stop fighting, it means you've given up. But that's a lie. Letting go is not weakness. Acceptance is not defeat. It's power. It's looking at your pain, your mistakes, your disappointments, and saying, I see you, I feel you, but you will not control me. Think about the strongest people you know, the ones who've been through hell but still stand tall. You know what they have in common? They let go. They didn't waste years fighting against what they couldn't change. They didn't stay stuck in bitterness, blaming the world for what happened. No, they accepted it. They took the lesson, they adjusted, and they moved forward. That's what you need to do. Stop arguing with reality. Stop replaying the past like it's going to change. Stop letting your pain dictate your future. There is life beyond what hurt you. There is more waiting for you. But you'll never get to it if you're still resisting what's already done. Accept it and then let it go. Some of you are exhausted, not because life is too hard, not because you don't have what it takes, but because you are fighting something that already happened. You are resisting something that can be changed. And the more you resist it, the more it drains you. The more you fight against reality, the more you suffer. Listen to me. Pain is real. Heartbreak is real. Disappointment is real. But suffering is when you refuse to accept the truth. It's when you keep replaying a moment in your mind trying to change an outcome that is already written in stone. It's when you hold on to what should have been instead of facing what is. And I need you to understand this. The pain of what happened to you is nothing compared to the pain of holding on to it. The situation itself hurt you once, but your resistance to it, that's hurting you every single day. I see too many people stuck, trapped in emotions that should have passed by now. Something happened years ago, and instead of letting it make them stronger, they let it become the reason they stopped. They stopped trusting, stopped believing, stopped trying. Not because they weren't capable, not because they weren't good enough, but because they kept resisting the reality in front of it. They refused to accept that what's done is done. And now they're stuck in a battle they can't win, trying to undo something that can't be undone. You ever notice how when you fight something, you give it more power? The more you resist something, the bigger it feels. The more you fight against reality, the more exhausted you become. That's because resistance is like quicksand. The harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. And some of you have been sinking for years, drowning in anger, bitterness, regret, because you just won't let go. It's time to stop. Stop fighting against what's already happened. Stop wishing things were different. Stop spending your days reliving the past, thinking, if only I had done this, if only they had stayed, if only it had worked out. No more if only. It's over. It happened. And no amount of thinking, no amount of regretting, no amount of resisting is going to change that. Some of you have lost people you love. Some of you have been betrayed, hurt, abandoned. Some of you made mistakes that cost you big. And I'm not saying any of that is easy to accept. I'm not saying you have to like it, but I am saying you have to accept it. Because the longer you resist, the longer you suffer. Think about it. When you lose something, when something doesn't go your way, you feel pain, right? But that pain is natural. It's part of life. It's your body, your mind adjusting to change. That kind of pain, that's temporary. But suffering happens when you don't let yourself move forward. Suffering happens when you keep telling yourself that life should have gone differently. Suffering is optional. You ever see people who go through the same pain but handle it completely differently? Two people can lose a job. One of them accepts it, adjusts, and finds something better. The other one sits in anger, blaming the company, blaming the economy, blaming everyone, but never moving forward. Two people can go through heartbreak. One of them accepts it, learns from it, grows, and moves on. The other one stays stuck in resentment, never trusting again, never allowing themselves to love again. The difference between those two people is not what happened to them, it's how they responded to. I'm asking you, how are you responding? Are you the person who lets pain make them better, or the person who lets pain make them bitter? Are you still holding on to something that's already gone? Are you still fighting against something that cannot be changed? If so, you have to stop. Not for them, not for the situation, but for you. Because life is moving forward whether you like it or not. The world is not waiting for you to heal. The world is not waiting for you to feel ready. Time is ticking. Opportunities are passing by. And every second you spend resisting the past is a second you losing in the present. You think holding on is making you strong, but real strength is in letting go. I know it's hard. I know some of you are thinking, but you don't understand how bad it hurt. You're right. I don't, but I do understand this. Your future is too important to waste another second stuck in something you can't change. You owe it to yourself to move forward. You owe it to yourself to accept it. Not because it was okay, not because it was fair, but because you refuse to let it steal one more day of your life. So right now, make the decision. Whatever it is you've been holding on to, whatever pain, whatever regret, whatever anger, accept it. Breathe it in and then let it go. Some of you are so focused on what you lost that you're blind to what you gained. You're so caught up in what didn't work out, who walked away, what failed, that you don't even see the lesson sitting right in front of you. Listen to me. There are no losses, only lessons. You didn't lose. You learned. You didn't fail. You grew. And until you start seeing it that way, you'll stay stuck in the past, letting what's behind you rob you of what's ahead. See, life isn't about getting everything right. It's not about winning every time, about never falling, never making mistakes. No, life is about learning. Life is about taking what happens to you, good or bad, and using it to build something better. But some of you are stuck in regret. Some of you are stuck in anger. Some of you are still looking at what didn't work out, thinking that somehow that was the end for you. But let me tell you something. The end of one thing is the beginning of something else. That relationship that broke you, that business that failed, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers, it wasn't a loss. It was a lesson. It was a setup for something greater. But you'll never see that if you keep looking at it the wrong way. You'll never see that if you keep telling yourself, I lost. No, you didn't. You gained wisdom. You gained experience. You gained clarity. And if you use it right, what you learned in that moment will take you to a level you never could have reached without it. Think about the strongest people you know. Think about the people you admire. You think they got there by winning every time? No, they got there because they failed and they learned. They lost and they grew. They failed and they got back up, wiser, stronger, better. That's the difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck. The ones who succeed don't waste time crying over what didn't work. They study it, they analyze it, they figure out what went wrong, and they make sure they never make the same mistake again. They take the lesson and they apply it. But some of you are out here running from your lesson. Some of you are so afraid of facing what happened that you're missing out on the very thing that could take you to the next level. Some of you are still bitter, still angry, still asking, why me? Instead of asking, what can I learn from this? Instead of saying, what did this teach me? What can I do differently? How can I use this to become better, stronger, smarter? That's the mindset you need to have. You have to start seeing your struggles as stepping stones, not setbacks. You have to start looking at every single experience, good or bad, as something that is preparing you for what's next. Because if you really look back, if you really study your journey, you'll see that every loss led to something greater. Every disappointment, every failure, every heartbreak, it all taught you something. It all positioned you for something better. Some of you have been through things that broke you. You've been through storms that you didn't think you'd survive. But guess what? You're still here. You're still breathing. And if you're still here, that means you made it through. That means that whatever was meant to destroy you failed. That means that no matter how hard it was, you learned something that made you stronger. But you have to recognize it. You have to acknowledge it. Because if you don't, you'll keep seeing yourself as a victim. And the moment you start seeing yourself as a victim is a moment you start giving away your power. Stop focusing on what you lost. Stop focusing on what didn't go your way. Stop focusing on what it taught you. Stop focusing on what it prepared you for. Every great person, every successful person, every strong person you know, they didn't get there without struggle. They didn't get there without pain. But the difference between them and everyone else, they didn't let the pain define them. They let it refine them. You have two choices. You can either let what happened to you break you, or you can let it build you. You can sit in regret, sit in self-pity, sit in anger, or you can get up, take the lesson, and use it to create something better. Life is not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it. Life is not about never falling. It's about getting back up smarter every time you do. So whatever it is that you've been holding on to, whatever loss you've been dwelling on, it's time to reframe it. It's time to stop looking at it as something that defeated you and start seeing it as something that prepared you. Because when you shift your mindset, when you start seeing life as a classroom instead of a battlefield, that's when everything changes. That's when you stop losing and start winning. So take the lesson and then let the rest go. Some of you are walking around carrying things that were never meant for you to carry. You're dragging the weight of past mistakes, past disappointments, past hurts, and it's slowing you down. It's keeping you stuck. And the worst part, you don't even realize how much lighter you would feel if you just let it go. You've been holding on for so long that the weight feels normal, but listen to me. Just because you carried it for years doesn't mean you were meant to. Just because you've gotten used to the pain doesn't mean it belongs to you. See, life isn't about collecting burdens. It's about learning to release them. But some of you, you keep replaying the same moments over and over again in your mind. You keep revisiting the same pain, the same disappointment, the same failure. And every time you do, you're reliving it. Every time you do, you're keeping yourself in a place you were meant to leave. It's like trying to run a race with a backpack full of bricks. You're trying to move forward, but every step is harder than it has to be. Not because you're not strong enough, not because you're not capable, but because you refuse to drop the weight. And if you don't let go of what's behind you, it will keep you from reaching what's ahead of you. Some of you are still holding on to guilt. You made mistakes. You did things you wish you could take back. And instead of learning, instead of growing, you punish yourself over and over again. You tell yourself, I should have done better. I should have known better. But let me ask you something. How long are you going to let your past control you? How long are you going to keep beating yourself up for something that's already over? Listen to me. Guilt is a prison, and the only way out is forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself. You have to decide that your mistakes will not define you. You have to understand that growth is the goal, not perfection. And some of you, you're carrying resentment. Someone hurt you. Someone betrayed you. And instead of letting it go, you hold on to that anger like it's going to fix something. But hear me when I say this. Your anger is not punishing them. It's punishing you. Your resentment is not holding them back. It's holding you back. You think that if you stay angry, it means you're strong. You think that if you refuse to forgive, it means they can't hurt you again. But all it's really doing is keeping you locked in a moment that you were meant to move past. You have to make a choice. You can either keep carrying the weight of everything that happened, or you can decide that your future is more important than your past. You can either keep looking back, or you can step into what's ahead of you. But you can't do both. You can't hold on to the pain and expect to grow. You can't carry bitterness and expect to be free. Some of you have been praying for change. You've been asking for a breakthrough. You've been wondering why things aren't working out, why you still feel stuck. But the truth is, you can't receive what's next if your hands are still full of what's old. You can't step into the next chapter of your life if you're still clinging to the last one. It's time to make room. It's time to let go of everything that's been weighing you down. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the regret. Let go of the resentment. Let go of the idea that things should have gone differently. Because the longer you hold on, the longer you delay what's meant for you. The longer you stay in the past, the longer you postpone your future. I know it's not easy. I know some of you are thinking, but I don't know how to let go. I don't know how to move on. Let me tell you how. You decide that what's ahead of you is more important than what's behind you. You decide that you're done carrying things that are keeping you from your purpose. You decide that you're worthy of peace, worthy of healing, worthy of a fresh start. And then step by step, day by day, you walk in that decision. Because if you don't, if you keep holding on to what's been hurting you, you'll never get to experience what's meant for you. And I refuse to let you settle for that. I refuse to let you waste another second living in the past when you were created to thrive in the present. So whatever it is, whatever weight you've been carrying, whatever pain you've been holding on to, release it. Not because they deserve forgiveness, not because the past wasn't painful, but because you deserve to be free. Some of you are waiting for permission to move on, waiting for closure, waiting for an apology, waiting for someone to acknowledge what they did to you. But let me tell you something. You don't need closure to heal. You don't need them to say sorry for you to move forward. You don't need anybody else to give you the green light to let go. See, too many people stay stuck because they're waiting for something that may never come. They're waiting for an explanation. They're waiting for the people who hurt them to suddenly understand, to suddenly feel remorse, to suddenly make it right. But what if they never do? What if the apology never comes? What if the person who wronged you never admits what they did? Does that mean you stay stuck forever? Does that mean you keep carrying that pain like a badge of honor? You don't need their permission to heal. You don't need their approval to move forward. Healing is a choice. Moving on is a decision. And the moment you stop waiting for someone else to give you what only you can give yourself, that's the moment you take the power back. That's the moment you stop being a victim and start being a victor. Some of you are out here searching for closure in places you'll never find it. You're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. You're replaying conversations, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. You're asking yourself, how could they do this? Why would they betray me? Why didn't they love me the way I loved them? And every time you ask those questions, you're giving power to something that should no longer have access to you. Not everything in life is going to make sense. Not every person who hurt you is going to explain why they did it. And even if they did, it wouldn't undo the damage. It wouldn't take away the pain. It wouldn't change the fact that you still have to decide what to do next. So why are you waiting? Why are you putting your healing on hold, waiting for someone who doesn't even think about what they did to you? Why are you giving them that much power? Let me tell you something. You don't need to hear, I'm sorry, to move on. You don't need to hear, I was wrong, to find peace. The greatest closure you will ever get is the moment you realize that you don't need it. The moment you understand that your healing, your growth, your peace, it's in your hands. Some of you have been through things that broke you. You've been lied to. You've been abandoned. You've been mistreated. And you think that if you could just get an explanation, if you could just get some kind of justice, it would make the pain go away. But let me tell you the truth. It won't. Closure is not about them giving you what you need. It's about you giving yourself what you need. It's about you deciding that you refuse to let what happened define you. It's about you realizing that your life is too valuable to be held hostage by the past. You are not owed an apology. You are not owed an explanation. And I know that's hard to hear. I know it's frustrating, but the moment you accept that, the moment you let go of the idea that someone else is responsible for your healing, that's the moment you become free. Some of you are carrying bitterness, not because you want to, but because you think it's the only way to keep the pain from coming back. You think that if you hold on to the anger, it will protect you from ever being hurt again. But that's a lie. Bitterness doesn't protect you, it poisons you. Resentment doesn't make you strong, it makes you stuck. You have to decide that you deserve peace more than you deserve revenge. You have to decide that your future is more important than your past. You have to decide that your time, your energy, your joy, it belongs to you, not to the people who hurt you. So stop waiting. Stop waiting for an apology that may never come. Stop waiting for people to recognize what they did. Stop waiting for life to give you permission to move on, because the only person who can set you free is you. You don't need closure. You need a decision. You need to wake up and say, I refuse to let this hold me back one more day. Because when you do that, when you finally take your healing into your own hands, that's the day you stop surviving and start living.
Some of you are holding on to things that are draining you and you don't even realize it. You're carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. You're giving your energy to people, to situations, to thoughts that are robbing you of your peace. And you wonder why you feel tired. You wonder why you feel stuck. You wonder why you keep taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. It's because you're still attached to things that no longer serve you. You're still holding on to relationships that are pulling you down. You're still clinging to habits that are keeping you from your potential. You're still entertaining distractions that are stealing your focus. Listen to me. Not everything is meant to go with you to the next level. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Not every habit is meant to stay with you. Some things were only meant for a season, and the reason you feel stuck is because you're trying to bring old weight into a new season. You're trying to hold on to things that were never meant to be permanent. I get it. Letting go is hard. Walking away from people you love is hard. Changing your mindset is hard. Releasing old habits is hard. But you know what else is hard? Staying the same. Staying in situations that drain you. Staying in places that no longer help you grow. Waking up every day knowing deep down that you're not where you're supposed to be. That's hard too. So if both are hard, why not choose the hard that leads to freedom? Why not choose the hard that leads to growth? Some of you have been dragging the same weight for years, telling yourself that it's not that bad. But deep down, you know. You know you've outgrown certain people. You know you've outgrown certain environments. You know that if you really want to step into your purpose, you have to let go of what's holding you back. You have to let go of toxic relationships. I don't care how long you've known them. I don't care how much history you have. If someone is draining you, if someone is constantly making you feel small, if someone is keeping you from becoming the best version of yourself, you have to let them go. You can't keep shrinking yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. You can't keep pouring into people who refuse to pour into you. You can't keep making excuses for why you're staying in environments that are killing your spirit. You have to let go of old mindsets. Some of you are carrying beliefs that no longer serve you. You keep telling yourself that you're not good enough. You keep telling yourself that success is for other people, but not for you. You keep believing the lies that were spoken over you. But hear me when I say this. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the opinions of others. If you want to grow, you have to let go of the thoughts that keep you small. You have to replace those lies with truth. You have to remind yourself every single day that you were created for more, that you are capable, that you are worthy of the life you dream about. You have to let go of fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of what people might think. Some of you are so afraid of stepping into the unknown that you'd rather stay in a familiar struggle than step into an unfamiliar blessing. You'd rather hold on to what's hurting you than risk stepping into what could heal you. But listen to me, fear is a liar. Fear will tell you to stay where it's safe. Fear will tell you that you're not ready. Fear will tell you that you're not capable. But growth and comfort do not coexist. If you want to grow, if you want to step into your next level, you have to be willing to let go of fear and trust that you were built for this. Some of you need to let go of guilt. You're carrying things from your past that you were never meant to carry. You're holding on to mistakes, to regrets, to things you wish you could change. But listen, beating yourself up over the past does not change it. Carrying guilt does not make you a better person. What makes you better is learning from it. What makes you better is deciding that from this moment forward, you will do better, you will be better, you will rise above it. Let go of the guilt, let go of the shame, forgive yourself. You can't keep asking for a breakthrough while holding on to baggage from your past. You can't keep praying for change while clinging to the very things that are keeping you stuck. You have to decide. You have to decide that you're done holding on to things that drain you. You have to decide that you're done entertaining people who don't respect you. You have to decide that you're done living with a mindset that keeps you from your potential, because the truth is, nobody is going to do this for you. Nobody is going to come and take the weight off your shoulders. Nobody is going to force you to let go. You have to want it for yourself. You have to look at your life, look at what's been holding you back, and say, I'm done. I'm done settling. I'm done playing small. I'm done carrying things that don't belong to me. And when you do that, when you finally let go of everything that's been weighing you down, you will feel lighter, you will feel free, you will finally have the space, the energy, the clarity to step into the life you were meant to live. So whatever it is, whatever you know you need to let go of, do it now. Because the longer you hold on, the longer you delay your future. And I don't know about you, but I refuse to let my past keep me from my purpose. I refuse to let what's behind me stop me from stepping into what's ahead of me. And you should too. At some point, you have to make a decision, a real decision, not just words, not just thoughts, not just temporary motivation, but a commitment to yourself that you are going to move forward no matter what. Because here's the truth. Nothing changes until you decide that it changes. Not when you feel like it, not when the circumstances are perfect, not when everything around you finally makes sense. Now, right now. Some of you have been playing with this idea of moving on, of letting go, of stepping into a new chapter, but deep down, you haven't truly committed. You've been dipping your toe in the water, testing it out, but you haven't jumped in. And that hesitation is the very thing keeping you stuck, because you can't halfway move on. You can't halfway let go. You can't say you want to heal while still holding on to the pain like a security blanket. At some point, you have to burn the bridge to your past and decide that there is no going back. You have to get to a place where you say, I am done being controlled by what happened. I am done being defined by who hurt me. I am done carrying the weight of things I cannot change. And once you make that decision, once you commit to it fully, everything shifts. The weight starts to lift, the burden starts to ease. The pain no longer has the same power over you. Why? Because you finally gave yourself permission to move forward. Listen to me. There is no future in the past. There is no growth in constantly looking behind you. You cannot step into what's next while holding on to what was. That chapter of your life is over. It's written. It's done. And if you keep rereading it, if you keep trying to make sense of it, if you keep living in it, you're going to miss everything that's waiting for you. Some of you have been stuck in the same cycle for years. You've been talking about change, dreaming about it, praying for it, but you haven't truly committed to it. And that's why nothing is different, because change doesn't happen when you think about it. Change happens when you act. When you wake up one day and say, enough is enough. When you stop giving energy to things that drain you, when you stop entertaining relationships that break you, when you stop feeding thoughts that keep you small. There's no magic formula. There's no perfect moment when everything will feel easy. You just have to decide. You just have to make up your mind that from this moment forward, you are walking in a new direction, that you are stepping into a version of yourself that is no longer tied to the pain, the fear, the regrets, that you are choosing to live fully instead of being a prisoner to the past. Some of you are still carrying things that you should have let go of a long time ago, still waiting for closure, still hoping for an apology, still trying to figure out what went wrong. And every day you do that, you are giving power to something that no longer exists. You are feeding something that should have died in your life already. And that's why you feel drained. That's why you feel stuck. That's why it feels like no matter how much you try to move forward, something keeps pulling you back. You don't need more time. You don't need more explanations. You don't need permission. You just need to decide. Decide that your peace is more important than your past. Decide that your future is worth more than the pain you're holding on to. Decide that the life you want, the joy, the success, the freedom, it's only going to come when you stop carrying dead weight and start stepping boldly into what's next. Because listen, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to fix it for you. Nobody is going to do the work for you. This is your life. This is your responsibility. And if you don't take control of it, if you don't make the decision to let go, to move on, to step forward, then you will stay exactly where you are. And I don't know about you, but I refuse to stay stuck in a chapter that no longer serves me. I refuse to let my past dictate my future. I refuse to waste one more second waiting for things to change when I have the power to change them myself. So this is it. This is the moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Right now, you decide that you're done carrying what's been breaking you. Right now, you decide that you're done living in a cycle of pain. Right now, you decide that your healing is your responsibility and that you are stepping into it with everything you've got. Because when you truly make that decision, when you finally let go, you will feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Freedom. And that freedom, that's the key to the life you were always meant to live.